to Drummers Only Radio. Drummers Only is the UK's leading drum shop with store locations in Glasgow and Leeds. Our podcasts are full of interviews, gear reviews, and much more from the unique perspective of a drum shop. The show is hosted by two pasty Scottish dudes who talk real fast. Whoa, slow down there, Braveheart. So here's Chris, the Glasgow shop manager, and Adam, the social media manager. Be sure to like, subscribe, and let's do this.
Hello, man.
Hi, Christopher. How are you?
Good, how are you?
Yes, very well, mate. Very well.
Drummers Only Radio, episode 32.
32. This week, we're going to speak about stick alternatives. So we've got a few different Headhunter stick variations in front of us. What else are we going to talk about?
We took some listener questions. So we talked about in-ear monitor mixes, how we like our in-ear monitor mix, and we talked about our origin stories. Somebody asked us how we started playing.
Yes, we did. And then we also spoke about just a little bit about health, keeping yourself fit and ready for playing the drums whenever you can. There will be time codes in the descriptions below, so if there's any particular section you want to skip to, feel free to do that.
Or if you just want to rewatch them.
Or if you want to rewatch them, or if you find a little nugget of information in there that you maybe missed out on when you were first listening, you can jump straight to the section. Other than that,
thanks for listening. Thanks for watching.
Let's sit back and enjoy.
Bye-bye.
Bye. Hello.
Hi.
How's it going?
Good. How are you?
Yes, very well, thank you.
This is episode number 32.
2 and 3, 32.
Indeed. I used to call bingo.
You did, didn't you?
Yeah, but less said about that, the better.
Yeah, probably, yeah.
So we're going to look at a couple of things today. There's a snare drum in front of me. This actually belongs to me. So we've got some stick alternatives to look at, namely by Headhunters.
Yes.
Because they're a relatively new product to us.
Yes, and they're also a very different product.
Correct, Amundo. they take your usual stick alternatives and they alternate them. So they are alternative stick alternatives. They
are stick alternatives that take the genre of stick and flip it upside down and invert it back to front.
And make it alternative.
Yeah. Headhunters.
So we've got a variety of different things to show you. And then maybe some other things. I think I want to talk about health a little bit and playing and longevity and those kind of things.
Okay.
And we got asked a question about in-ear monitors, and we got asked a question about our influences and why we started. So we will address those questions because people asked us those questions.
Yes. It's always nice when people ask a question, isn't it?
It is.
If you guys want to ask us some questions, feel free to drop us a line.
I mean, preferably relative to drums.
Yeah. Or
I mean, like, my shoe's a size 9 if you need to know that.
Yeah,
but, you know,
I'll tell you why I don't like the first Scooby-Doo live-action film.
Because it's a Scooby-Doo live-action film.
On paper, man, it should have been absolutely tremendous, and it was not.
No.
Very
not
sad.
even Sarah Michelle Gellar could save it.
Exactly. And it got a sequel. Can you believe? Anyway, right.
Yeah. Stick alternatives. Now, the first thing I'll do, right, is I'm going to play the drum with sticks. So
what drum are you playing, Christopher?
I will get to that.
Okay.
And then I'll play the alternatives. The drum I'm playing, Adam, is a Sonar 14 by 5 3/4 vintage series. It's a beach shell, 9-ply 6mm, rounded over edges. It has an Evans Genera Dry on the top.
Oh, excellent choice of head there.
Thank you.
Why did you choose the Genera Dry?
Well, I'll tell you. Because I fancied something different.
Okay.
I like my drum to be dampening aid free.
Interesting. Okay.
Besides maybe a snare weight on occasion, but I like the drum to be open and lively. Mm-hmm. And this head, coupled with the bearing edge, lets me do that.
Yep.
So there's not ringy, horrible overtones that I need to worry about or dampen out. The drum can be as open and as honest as it likes.
Brilliant.
It gives me quite a true tone.
Yeah,
I
have to say, from an outsider looking into the drum, hearing it from afar, it sounds absolutely brilliant.
Well, thank you very much.
Yes, you're
welcome.
Thank
you very much. And to go one further, it actually has a Diplomat snare head on the bottom.
Oh, does it really?
It does really. Okay. Which I don't love.
You don't love it?
No.
Why do you not love it?
It's too bright, I think. It's too thin for me. I think Ambassador Weight Diplomat on the bottom is my head of choice.
Is your head of choice.
Having said that, it does make the wires respond quite nicely and very crisply, so I might have to go back to an Ambassador weight on the bottom, but change the wires and see what I get from that.
Interesting.
Yes.
Do you know what that Genera Dry is also perfect for?
What's that?
Trying out weird and wacky drumsticks.
Well, there you go. What a segue. I'm going to play this drum, and then I will talk through and Adam will help me. The stick aids that I have to my left somewhere, and or alternatives rather, and then we'll play them too. So
Cool.
the drum with sticks.
We've all heard it before.
Yeah.
We know what drums with sticks sound like.
It's taut. It's quite precise, military-like almost.
Yeah, it's
maybe
very-
in this room, but I love it. I love this drum. It's my favourite drum in the world. So there you have it. So that's it with the sticks. The first thing we're going to look at, as I put the sticks down here, are the aptly named Headhunters Fat Bastards.
Yes.
So
My favourite character from Austin Powers, by the way.
these are like rakes almost. So it's like if you can imagine bamboo rods, but not bundled. They're allowed to fan out. You'll notice here, this does not move, so they stay where they are. They're lightweighty.
Yeah, they are pretty lightweight. This is the kind of thing, and I don't know about you, Chris, right? But I've just finished watching Cobra Kai,
Me too.
right? And I'm a huge fan of the original Karate Kid films. These kind of look like the kind of things that Mr. Miyagi would like teach Daniel-san how to do certain things with.
Make the soup.
Yeah.
You know, that would be a move that he does. He stirs the soup.
Stir the pot.
Yeah, stir the pot on, stir the pot off.
Daniel-san, yeah. Stir the pot off. Okay.
So on that note, so this is what these sound like on this snare drum. So.
You played exactly what I would have instinctively thought I would play.
Ye old
if I
train beat.
Ye old train beat.
I mean, they're begging for it. They're begging for you to play a train beat. When you actually take them out of the packet, they say, play a train beat.
Yep.
What do you think?
I like the sound of it. I mean, it's, again, they're pretty... What's the best way to describe this? They've got... Do you know the ProMark broomsticks?
Yes.
They've got more attack,
Yeah.
which I like. They kind of sound more like you're actually hitting them with an actual stick. Does that make sense?
It does. It does. What's really cool is you'll notice, right, if you can see on the camera, that they're fanned in a specific way. So it's almost like they're concave and convex.
Mm-hmm.
So that creates like, if you play them that side down, it creates like a little pocket. But if you turn them around,
Yeah.
you get a little bit more attack.
Yeah.
So there are options for the sound within what is a very static product.
Yeah.
Do you know what I mean?
How do they feel in your hand?
They feel nice, man. Like here, they feel they're not too heavy, they're not too light. They're kind of well balanced.
They're very well. If this was Ollivanders, these would be for Harry Potter. These would be very well weighted.
They are. It's a finely weighted wand.
Yes, it is
Um,
indeed. Yes.
You know. So yeah. Even things like if you've got to count the band in, if you click them together, the band will hear that.
Oh, absolutely. Yeah.
You know. So
Yeah,
yeah.
they've got-
They're not expensive. They are $37.99, which is great.
That's great for something that's pretty different as well.
Yeah.
You know I like the broomsticks, but what I don't like about them is that sometimes I just don't feel as though I get enough power out of them.
Right.
And I feel like the fat bastards would be that perfect.
Yeah, I would
over
agree
to,
there.
you know.
Obviously, we don't have toms set up. It would be interesting to hear how they sound on the toms, because one thing about the broomsticks I do like is you get lots of low end on
Yeah.
toms.
It's basically like how, like, it's essentially if you were to take a drumstick and put a mallet on it,
Mhm.
a mallet top on it, that's
Kind of,
basically what
yeah.
drumsticks or broomsticks kind of sound like.
So that's the Fat Bastards. These are the next product, and these are called
What are these?
the Sporran. So for your
Sporran.
Scotch folk, these are lighter straight off the bat. Are lighter. You'll be able to
Yeah.
sort of confirm that, and it's kind of
wow.
like, I want to check what it says that on the packet. It just says soft corn with a hard twist. I was going to say straw,
Yeah.
but they say soft corn. But it also has some like rods with a small ball at the top, and again they're static except for the rod thing. It can be moved. If you can see that, I don't know how well you can see that. You can move that up and down, which will change the sort of tension of the rod part at the top.
So to make it more staccato-y.
Yeah,
Yeah.
but these are absolutely great. They're when you play them just the corn side down, they're really soft.
Do you know what's really great about that? Is that you're right, it is very, very soft, very, very delicate, but obviously the little kind of plastic helps add a little bit of girth to it.
A little bit of weight behind the
A little
sound.
bit of weight, so you feel as though you're still kind of striking. It's not just like you're moving a bit of straw around.
Exactly. But the flip side is you can turn them over. I will say, when you turn them over, they're slightly harder to play doubles with.
Oh, okay.
Because of the weight of this. Yeah. But if you play the corn side, it's a little easier to play doubles with, which is intriguing, which I like, and I'll tell you why I like it, because it'll get me, if I was to use them, out the habit of playing the stuff I know how to play, and it'll make me play the drums differently. Yeah. You can also combine them, so you can have corn side with stick side.
Yeah.
I
mean, obviously we're talking about a lot of live. Oh, there we go.
Yeah, you can even, I didn't think about that till then, you can use them as brushes.
Yeah.
Sorry.
No, that's great. I mean, obviously we're talking about live applications of that, but even in the studio you can kind of create almost those analog style effects, where you've got those like really like kind of room mic or the microphone in a different room sound of a snare hit, for example, or whatever.
Absolutely.
You can kind of emulate that a little bit with those.
It's got a kind of reverby character to it as well.
Yeah, kind of.
Also, they would be rad for ride cymbals.
Oh, yeah.
So if you have to play softly, but you need a little bit more definition on the cymbal, you just flip it that bad boy round, and there you go.
There you go.
So you'll get a little bit of weight on your ride cymbal if you're, if we're coming to the end of a tune and you want it a little bit more power behind you, or if you want a big I'll get you crash just once, I feel like these kind of things make good composition tools.
Oh, now that is a sentence right there. Composition tool.
Because you can then create things that you wouldn't create with just a brush.
Yeah.
Because outside of flipping a brush round and smacking a cymbal with it, but even that, there's if they're a rubber-handled brush, it feels a certain way and it might not give you the kind of sound you want. I don't know. I think you've got a little bit more character with these.
Yeah.
I like these, man.
So
really great.
You're right-handed, aren't
yes.
you? Right. So just as an experiment for me, I'm just curious. Put one of the sporran sticks in your right hand, right, with the corn side hitting the drum, and then get one of the fat bastards and put that in your backbeat hand, and then play like a
That's cool.
Yeah. Yeah.
Straight away, we've got a kind of thing happening there.
Totally, yeah.
Not happening with that, though.
Not happening with the brush.
So.
Right. Yeah.
Got some blues on the go, you know, something like that. So, combo. I didn't even think about that, combining the two of them.
Well, I'm just thinking, if you've got both in your bag, you've then got more options to combine.
Absolutely. These are priced at £30.99.
This is cool, man. I like going through these different alternatives because, other than just a typical set of either rods or brushes, having these alternatives are great.
Yeah, I mean, with the soft corn things, the sporran, I immediately think of like Neil Young or something along the artists like that are super. There's an album Neil Young did called Harvest Moon, and the lead single was called Harvest Moon, and it's got a kind of brush beat in it that's really hip, and they would sound great with it.
Oh, you know,
those kind of things. I'm trying to think of more contemporary pop stars.
Yeah. Well, I mean, even if you strip down everything to its kind of bare bones, imagine playing some tunes off Taylor Swift's Folklore with those sporrans. Do you know what I mean? Because they're so soft, they're really delicate, but then when you start to build it dynamically, you can switch them around and get a little bit more power out of it.
Bon Iver or something.
Bon Iver, exactly.
If if you're playing in that kind of vibey band or something, even more modern jazz things would be cool in that. Quite like them. The next ones are really great. They're called Dream Catchers.
Oh,
now these
aren't advised to hang in your bedroom at night. No,
they didn't work for me. So these are brushes, but with this little red thing. That looks like a dream catcher.
So if you're just listening on the audio wise, basically the Dreamcatchers have kind of, it almost looks like a Dreamcatcher, but there's basically a small plastic red.
It looks like a snowshoe without the inside.
Yeah, thank you. It looks like a tennis racket. Yeah, a little bit.
And it's used. My immediate use for it is a backbeat.
Yeah.
You get a backbeat, so that's like your regular brush backbeat for the audio trips, and then if I flip it, so
yeah. Yeah. But you know, like even with a lot of fast jazz music, you know, you're playing that kind of the stand.
I'm not even going to try. It's been so long.
Oh man. Yeah. But you know, a lot of those accents need to cut right through. So again, those sticks for that kind of situation would be amazing. You know, you need to all of a sudden you need to bring things from very, very quiet to very, very loud.
Yeah.
Super quick.
Yeah, you know? Absolutely. I wonder again that would be cool on the cymbals.
Yeah.
You know, just maybe right on the edge of the ride, or again the crash if you need a little bit more power in the crash. Like you say, if you want to get loud really quickly.
Yeah.
Outside of that, it's a very simple brush. The handle is rubber. I like the way they're weighted. I'm going to critique this one.
Okay. Can I see one?
Yeah, you absolutely can.
Yeah.
The only thing I would like differently is a slightly longer handle.
Okay, right.
Ever so slightly.
Have you got quite big hands?
No, but it's because of where the weight is, because of the Dreamcatcher bit.
See, this is interesting because I actually like the size of it.
Right. Wow. Okay.
For me, but I've got like quite small hands.
Okay.
So I don't know if that affects how you.
Well, absolutely it will, but
Yeah.
I just feel like if I could have it ever so slightly longer, it would balance out the weight. But that's a really sort of snide critique because you're not. I wouldn't be using them all the time.
Yeah.
So for the one tune that would end up in the set,
Yeah.
or two tunes where I may use it, then I'll deal.
Yeah.
You know.
Now I noticed you took a cover off.
Yes,
of
they
the
have a
top of these.
sheath.
So they have a sheath, right? So is it possible to play these with the sheath on?
Oh, God, you've blown me. That's a couple of times you've challenged me just in this little time.
That's why we have a good yin and yang, Chris.
Oh, there you are.
I am.
Let's hope I
I
don't
am the
break the
Ken
sheath.
to your Barbie.
Yes, you can. You can use it.
Yeah.
Actually, that
Does that solve your weight issue?
a little bit,
Yeah.
but it changes the sound. But I like the sound.
Okay.
So that is really just with the tip that I am playing here.
So is there a way you could show that on the camera? Just lift it up.
So
a little?
yeah, if you see that the sheath is on, there's a tiny little bit of brush that pokes out at the top.
It's like a little mohawk at the top.
A little brush mohawk.
Little brush mohawk.
If you hit them too hard, the sheath comes off.
Yeah.
That's the only thing. But yeah,
It's still possible though.
yeah, it is possible. So those are the Dreamcatchers by Headhunters, $27.99. Not bad, man. That's like
Really
the price
great.
of a brush.
Yeah, yeah. For a good quality set of brushes, yeah. Plus you get the added dynamical feature. Dynamical? Is dynamical a word?
It is
Don't know.
today.
Okay.
It is today. So the stingers are the last ones, described as foam core rods surrounded by 4 slatted bamboo, make an extremely durable instrument. Foam core provided bounce and impact strength.
Oh, it's a foam core. I thought these had a plastic core.
No, so these are quite like Vic Firth makes something like these as well. Talawans, I believe they're called. That are a signature product for Steve Smith.
Mm-hmm.
These are heavier though.
Oh, they're heavier. Okay.
Yes, which straight away I like.
Yeah.
They're like normal bamboo rod team. You can adjust the top of them, but they sound great. This is the closest product that we're looking at to sticks.
So I'm gonna straight away play devil's advocate.
Uh-huh.
So compare those. I'll hold those.
Okay.
And compare those to actual sticks, which you've placed in the snare wall right there.
Oh, so you need to adjust. Hang on, because I changed. How do I play one with one hand and one with the other?
That makes
Okay,
so much more sense.
For audio, I'm doing the drumstick first, which is my left hand, and then the stinger second, which is my right hand.
So they're not quite as loud as just a conventional stick, but they are still pretty loud.
Yeah, and they're softer. The immediate impact is softer.
Yeah.
But they do rebound quite well, and I do like that you can adjust the rubber part around the top to soften it even further.
Yeah. They do feel really nice. They're a lot lighter than I expected.
Yeah, I would agree. But they're still heavier than the Tala ones.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Wow,
I like them.
Amazing, yeah.
Yeah, I actually have a set of these.
Oh, do you? The stingers, yeah.
Yeah, I have a set of the stingers.
What applications have you found to use them in?
Just anything that you need to be quieter, but still want the texture of drumsticks.
Yeah.
You know.
I guess I think a lot of drummers, myself included, went wrong when they buy their first set of not brushes,
Rods.
Rods, thank you. Because I know I went through a period of this, like me and my dad's in my house. We spoke about this before, but to keep the volume down, you just automatically assume, okay, I'll use not a stick, but something that's like a stick.
Mm-hmm.
And you instinctively just thought, okay, they're not sticks, they're rods. Perfect. But rods can be just as loud.
They can be.
You know, and they break far easier.
They do,
as I also learned.
because you end up hitting the drums just as hard as you would with drumsticks. So
Yeah.
they're just going to... Growing up, I had flicks.
I like the flick sticks.
The orange flicks, because I wasn't anywhere near this kind of level of options. So flicks were great. And they fray as opposed to breaking.
Mm-hmm.
So it wasn't so bad.
Yeah.
Because they're plastic, obviously. So, and I like the ability to adjust the rubber part, the rubber ring at the top of them. You could slide them down so it would open up the stick a wee bit. You know?
I like the stingers you just had there. I really like those. I kind of wish those were a thing when I was a bit younger. Because they feel like you're holding a stick, but as soon as you strike the drum, you know you can't hit as hard. So, but you don't feel as though you have to compensate like I felt as though I had to with rods.
Right.
Do you know what I mean? Because I felt as though I had to hit harder with rods to feel like I was actually to try and get that same sensation as I was holding a stick.
Yeah.
Whereas the stingers feel like I'm holding a stick already, so I don't feel as though I need to compensate, so I can play a bit quieter.
Yeah, I get that.
Yep. You feel?
I do feel. I think it's also down to the musical application. Like, what kind of music are you playing? You know, if you're playing really soft music, then all of this stuff will work really well.
Absolutely, yeah.
You know, I think the first time I saw Rods was it Clapton Unplugged?
Mm-hmm.
Steve Ferrone was playing them.
Yeah.
And the first time I saw brushes outside of jazz was Nirvana Unplugged.
Oh yeah, Grohl. Yeah.
Dave Grohl plays brushes on that.
Yeah. He plays rods on that as well.
Does he?
Yeah. He does,
I remember seeing him with brushes.
Yeah. It's quite funny actually. See when you watch that. There's one song in particular, and the name of it has completely escaped me. Where he's playing rods, and you can see him really wanting to go for it, and like you also see him not only wanting to go for it, but you see him kind of like hold himself back, and he's just like tickling the right cymbal. Yeah,
for sure. But yeah, those are a great selection. Headhunters do a whole wide variety of different things, you know, but those are four that we seem to really like.
Could you see or foresee an application where you would require all four of those on a gig, do you think?
I mean, if you're playing the right music, absolutely, you know, because they all offer a completely different thing, you know.
Yeah.
So, and like you made me do, you can mix and match them.
Yeah.
So it would really be down to, I think, how creative you want to be.
Yeah.
It would be down to the music, these kind of things, you know. But I think the kind of world's your oyster, which is what I really like about them, you know. Even
thinking back to playing them there, I really like those sporting sticks, man. I think they feel really great.
Yeah, absolutely. Maybe you should like do a video. Like a product video.
Oh yeah.
Where you play them on a kit and see what they're like.
You know,
I'll bring mine in.
So you know, of course, absolutely. Yeah. Wicked.
I mean, obviously, other brands make tons of stuff. Mine will do those husk brushes, which are really cool. They're sort of relatively new. We didn't look at anything like mallets. They've been done to death. Yeah, by a million and one videos and all that. So you kind of know what you're getting with them. But check out the Headhunters. Yeah,
because that's the thing. Like we often get people come in and ask us, you know, like, is there anything different? You know, and that's Headhunters is typically the first place we'll direct people, because
for sure.
they are very different. They're very out there, you know. And being honest, like there maybe are things that they make that you will probably most often never use, but there'll be that one situation where you'll need something completely bonkers.
We've had some people come in that play folk music. I've had some drummers come in that also do classical or chamber kind of orchestral things that find uses for these. You know, maybe if it's contemporary classical music that want you to play the side of a shell, but you don't want a drumstick sound. Well, like the Dreamcatcher brush sound or the sporin, the plastic ball thing on the sporin could work. You know, so there's all sorts of.
It also won't damage your drums.
No, that's it. And there's all sorts of hip, different ways to do it. You know, where a lot of people are putting cymbals on drums at the moment, splashes on drums, and that kind of thing. Something like that might have a cool effect on those. Yeah, sure. You know, just the world is your oyster.
Out of the 4 that you played there, which one's your favourite?
The sporins.
Sporins, yeah. I think that's
these
across
ones,
the board. We both really
like
those.
the corn ones with the plastic. I just think they feel tremendous.
That's something we've not tried with the snares off. That right away, that reminds me of like a kind of like gated reverse kind of sort of snary kind of vibe. You know,
yeah, it's just cool, man.
Yeah,
I like how light these are, and with this kind of stuff, if you've got a thicker handle and they're light, it feels good to play because they kind of do the work for you. Yeah. It's like when people want thick sticks but light sticks, they pick maple. So, you know, that's kind of feels relative to that to me. Yeah. Just nice, man. Yeah, those are my favourites.
I also like the Fat Bastards purely for the name as well. But they sound great.
Yep. So, yeah, that is that. Someone asked us this week about our in-ear monitor mixes and how we like them to be. You are more switched on with this stuff than I am. Yeah. I kind of plug headphones into a mixer. Yeah. And do that. If I had options where another human was doing it for me,
like Gordon, for example.
Yeah. I probably would like a stereo sound. Yeah. Like, if the guitarist is on my right, then his sound is on my right. If the bass player is on my left, then he's on my left. You know, in one ear. Okay, yeah. Singer down the middle.
Do you know, for the longest time with in-ears, I never wanted myself through them at all.
I can dig that. I can absolutely understand that. And I used to be like that, but whenever I was in those situations where I had them in, I would hit the drums too hard.
Right, okay.
Fair enough. It is a good way of actually monitoring how hard you're hitting the drums.
What a bad habit that I've got into. I like having, now it's kind of changed, but before I didn't like having myself through my ears because it just kind of, in my mind I thought, well, the drums are right in front of me. You know, like, why do I need them also blasting my ears? Surely the whole point is that they're not blasting my ears, you know, and I needed to hear everyone else more prominently. But you're absolutely right, you just end up hitting the drums harder.
It depends how good and how much the actual headphones isolate. Yeah. I've done gigs with Apple headphones and it's been awful.
Oh yeah,
you know,
but that's
yeah.
Boo.
I don't even know why I did it, but you know,
it seems like a good idea at the time. But it's absolutely
like if you forget and you happen to have headphones in your bag.
See, from having conversations with our own Dave, like, I've went almost too far the opposite way where I have spares of everything. Yeah. So like if I'm in a situation where I have in-ears, like I also have a backup set of in-ears in my case, because I'm just like, I don't want to go through the gig A without in-ears completely, or B have to resort to like really like terrible Apple headphones that just I'll know won't be able to handle everything that it's been having, or everything that's having to process. But yeah, now my in-ear mix, I guess, has kind of changed. So obviously I have a lot of bass drum. Because I haven't gigged my new Sonar kit yet, I don't know if I need as much bass drum in my in-ears as what I maybe did before, because I had a 16-inch bass drum. Yeah, so okay. Obviously with that, there's not as big a sound going to come out of that, so I need to obviously crank it in my ears to be able to hear it. I also have electronics as well. Okay. So with the band I work with as well, all they've got a digital desk. So basically, I can control my own mix from my iPad. So sometimes it'll vary, literally depending on the room. Like sometimes I'll have too much bass. Sometimes I'll maybe not have enough bass. You know, Because also, obviously, as you've quite rightly pointed out, it depends on where they are on the stage.
Mhm.
You know, more often than not, they'll be in the same place. But like sometimes the bass player will have an amp. Some nights he won't have an amp. He'll just go through his pedal.
Mhm.
You know,
Yeah,
so it just
absolutely.
it really depends. But I guess obviously vocal is main. That's
Yeah, I
kinda
was
for
just
me
about
is-
to ask, is there a kind of hierarchy for who's in your ears?
As long as I've got vocal, some sort of melody or leading melody, whether it be vocal or even saxophone. So I've got something there, then I at least know where I am.
Mm-hmm.
You know, which isn't so much of a problem now, is because obviously you know what songs more often you're playing. But in the beginning, I was just like, as long as I know where I am, if I can hear the vocal, I'm good.
Right.
Like I'm not fussed about anything else really. Maybe if I'm being hyper picky, vocal and maybe like guitar or
Mhm.
a keyboard, saxophone maybe.
Mm-hmm.
But as long as I've got at least vocal, I know where I'm at. Because I don't know about you, but my training was always, if in doubt, just follow the singer.
Yeah,
If she
for-
changes her, if he or she
yeah,
changes
yeah.
her mind, you just follow them. you
Yeah,
know?
I mean,
So-
we've all been in those situations where they've chopped 4 bars off something.
Yep.
Or just chopped the last line off something, going into the chorus. So the singer is in the chorus, well, the band isn't.
Yeah.
Okay, we're in the chorus now.
We're in the
Yeah,
chorus,
you're
yep.
right, man. You're right.
So, what about you?
I like the front of house sound in my ears.
Oh, okay.
So I like a mixed band.
Right.
Because then I know where I sit in it all.
Okay. Yeah. Do you think that helps you with dynamics?
Yes, I think so. There's only 3 instruments in the band I play in, so
Yeah.
guitar, bass, drums. So there's a lot more space in the sort of in my headphones anyway. You know, it's not there's not all the keyboard stuff going on, and keyboards can sound really harsh in headphones as well. Patches can sound really harsh.
Yeah.
So yeah, I tend to like the front of house mix. That's how
Yeah.
I do it. And it also, I can tell where the singer sits in relation to the rest of the band.
Mm-hmm.
You know, they're not in my ears too high, so I can.
Yeah.
Is the guitar too loud? You know, because we haven't had time to sound check all his patches or something. You know,
Yeah.
and it lets me just sort of deal with that.
Because you sit at the back as well, so that
We're on
also-
almost ampless stage. Sorry, I interrupted you.
No.
We're at almost an ampless stage as well,
Oh.
because our guitarist is he has a Kemper, so he
Yeah.
doesn't take an amp. The bass player is looking at making amps go away as well. So
Right.
it helps to hear a stereo mix rather than like
Yeah.
mixing it myself to like.
And it kind of echoes what Gordon was speaking about a couple of weeks ago. Like, obviously, the band naturally gets louder
Mhm.
throughout the night.
Ah, of
so
course it
that
does,
means
aye.
that you've kind of literally got a source of how loud it's getting through your ears.
Yeah,
You know,
for sure.
So, and who's playing loud?
And you can kind of hear the audience too.
Mhm.
I quite like to hear that.
Yeah.
You know, you pick up little cues from people if they're having a good night or not. You know, you
Yeah.
can hear things that people say. I can hear the band on the stage if we need to talk to each other as well, because the
Mhm.
vocal mic will typically pick something up. So
Yeah.
the singer has skipped a song
Uh-huh.
and she says it to the guitarist, she doesn't really need to tell me,
Yeah.
because I can hear her say it.
Yeah.
You know, within a certain boundary.
Yeah.
You know, so silly things like that. You know, it just means it's dead easy to keep the night going.
Yeah.
You know, because there's nothing worse than somebody trying to talk to you when you have in-ears in that have isolated absolutely everything. You haven't to take them out and
Yeah.
out, and you know.
As I was saying, a bad habit that I've kind of got into, even with that, is taking the in-ear out my ear a little bit.
Mm-hmm.
Like, not like enough to where I can actually hear myself. And it's actually just occurred to me right now as I'm talking to you through this very microphone in this very shop right now. Why don't I just put my snare drum through my in-ears?
Do you mic it?
Yeah.
Oh well, then yeah. Why
Yeah,
don't you?
I know. Yeah, that's
'Cause I don't mic it.
you don't make it at all.
No, I mic
No.
the bass drum,
Right. Okay.
and that's it.
The only reason we mic all the drums is purely because of in-ears.
Right.
But to be fair, thinking about it, I've never had an instance where the saxophone player needs to hear my rack tom.
No, they
You know.
they typically need less of everything.
Yeah.
You know, it just makes everything difficult going out
Yeah.
the PA. You know.
I guess this break from gigging is kind of making you obviously rethink things, how you'll do things when you go back to gigging.
Yeah, maybe.
And actually, speaking to Gordon's kind of echoed. If you guys haven't listened to episode 30 with Gordon, by the way, do so.
Yeah,
because
absolutely.
It's pretty eye opening. But where I was going with that was, it's made me kind of rethink my miking strategy of when I mic up the kit.
Uh-huh.
You know, so like maybe I'll just have a bass drum and an overhead. You know, because maybe that's all it needs. You know, depending on the room.
Especially if you're triggering as well.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah.
You know, depending on what sound you're putting through, that'll come out front of house. That can be really loud, actually, and really sort of right at the front of the sound rather than kind of moving air. So depending on how dynamically you play and stuff, it's just a processed sound that's really loud.
Yeah. And I usually have the dynamic setting turned off as well.
Really?
So usually, yeah.
Okay, how come?
Purely because I think for a lot of the songs that I'm using triggers with and like samples, it's all meant to be loud. It's usually like kind of like if we're doing like emulating dance music or something, that it's like for me that's just like, well, it needs to be kind of all out there, loud.
Fair enough.
Yeah, I don't really think if you listen to like any of the dance hits, you know, they're not really dynamic in a way of like the music. The drums are always like at 11. Do you know what I mean? Whereas everything else can kind of fluctuate back and forth. But whenever the drums kick in, especially the bass drum, it's always thumping. So I think in my brain, I'm like, well, that would make sense.
Yeah.
I'll just turn the dynamic off.
I take them off any backing tracks if there's any backing tracks needed. Dynamic setting off that, because I've done that before. Not hit the backing track loud enough, or not the dynamic setting's been on, so you just tap the pad and it comes out quietly, and you're like, where's the backing track?
So if anyone listening doesn't use electronics, there more often than not on each sample patch there is a setting for dynamics. So that basically means however hard or soft you strike the pad will play either a sample or in this case a track at that volume degree. So if you hit the pad really softly, it's going to come out really, really quietly. If you hit the pad really loud or really hard, it's going to come out really, really loud. But there's a setting in most electronics where you can turn that setting off so that it'll just always, no matter if you hit it soft or loud, it'll come out at the same volume, and more often than not it'll be the volume that's set on it, which will be loud. And
that, I guess that way then that you are controlling that from the front of house and in your own ears rather than on the machine.
Yeah, exactly. Because I too have been in that situation with an originals band who we had a backing track, and I just got my Roland SPDSX and I didn't realise that you could turn the dynamics on and off, and I had it like just raised it, and I could hear it fine because you can route it a certain way to where it sounds loud in the headphones, or like I don't know if I'd maybe done something. Either way, I was trying to work out how to use it, and the guys were turning around at me going, there's no backing track at a gig, and they're like, there's no backing track, and I'm like, but there is, I can hear it. And they're like, but it's really quiet. Why is it really quiet? You know, and like I had to stop the song. It was one of those ones we had to stop the song.
Man,
kills all the vibe.
How loud are the electronics in your ears?
Pretty loud.
Right.
Because I also have a little mixer beside me, so I have the band going into it, just as like a master kind of signal, and I have my electronics in the mixer separately, so I can blend to. Purely because I don't trust anyone with it, which isn't unfair, I suppose, because I'm just too anal that way. I just like
I mean, my wife's been in a situation where she was playing drums for a band and they were all on in ears because they used electronic drums, and they nearly blew her ears off. Yeah, because the signal was just too hot and they were in a rush and didn't really sound check her, so she was like, whoa, guys, stop, like this is horrendous, you know. And I think she had one ear in, one ear out kind of vibe, you know, playing electronic drums all night, which is not a great, man. So I get why you wouldn't maybe trust everybody. Yeah. Or just want more control, rather. Yeah,
that's just, for that kind of thing, especially obviously if you're working with a new band at that time, I try and make it as simple as possible. Just like, this is what I need. If you could just give me a feed from you guys, I can control all that kind of stuff from here. I'll just give you what you need from me, you know. Yeah. The question was from Michael Crow.
Thank you, Michael, for that. Yeah, thanks, Michael. Let us know how you run yours.
Yes.
That'd be cool.
Yeah, that'd be really cool. We also had another question from Michael DeLangio.
Right.
I'm sorry if I've butchered your last name. But he left us a comment on YouTube, and he was basically asking what got us involved with drums, you know? What got us into playing drums.
Okay. I'm sure that I've talked about this before, but if I haven't, it was just getting drums the first day at school, at high school, and getting to play, and I was like, this is great, really love this, and it was really fortunate that I got into all the music I like at the same time, and found 2 other people to play with at the same, like literally the same week, bish bash bosh, done.
Wow, done.
So straight away it was just the combination of meeting good people to play music with, getting into good music, and getting to play the drums, being given the opportunity to play on an acoustic kit as well, because there weren't electronic kits at school.
Yeah.
So, we were taken to, I think you did drums on the stage because it was away from all the classrooms in the music department, so you weren't going to wind anybody up by playing the drums,
Yeah.
So finding good drummers right away that I liked. AC/DC at the beginning. It was like music my dad liked at the beginning, all that kind of stuff, like learning to play Phil Rudd stuff, which is just a different tempoed variation of the same beat. So the basic rock beat at a variety of tempos. Some of them really fast. Some of that early or that kind of sort of live AC/DC stuff when they're playing Let There Be Rock and all that was for 7 minutes at the same speed. Is kind of bonkers,
Yeah.
So yeah, that's a kind of sort of diet version of that. It was all happened really quickly. What about you?
You and I have a very similar. I think we have spoken about
Origin
this
story.
before. Origin story. Whereas I had I kind of guess slightly earlier introduction because my dad was a drummer, but he hadn't played in years. And it was one of those, we were tidying out the house and he found his old drumsticks. It sounds like a Tenacious D movie. Like, it really does. Like,
maybe it will be now.
Maybe make that happen. He found his old pair of drumsticks and I was like, what are these? Like, because obviously, like, they just looked like two identical bits of, like, I don't know, like tree or something. I don't know. And he's like, oh, these are my drumsticks. And I was like, drums? What is this? What is drums? Yes. So at that point we didn't have drums. All he had was literally like, I don't even think he did have a practice pad, but he took that as like, oh, I'll show you what the drums are. And he got like the dining room chair out and like started showing me like, here's like single stroke, here's a paradiddle, here's a double stroke. And of course when I'm like 7 years old, I'm just wanting to just pick up the things and just like raise hell on
absolutely
it. Yeah, and just beat the crap out of the dining room chair.
Absolutely.
To my mum's disapproval. So
absolutely.
And then it wasn't until like a few years later when I was 12 and high school rolled around and your first kind of introduction to music class is cool. I'm going to show you guys how to play a basic beat on the drums. And I'm like, drums? I've heard that word before. Like, oh yeah, these are the things that always different from a dining room chair. Okay. And I've definitely told you this before because I remember. And this is no word of a lie, and it sounds proper origin story, like Harry Potter level, you're a wizard, Harry level of. But it's the basic beat that he showed me, the doons, cuts, doons, cuts. Do you like my beatboxing there?
I did. That was good.
You
should work in a drum shop.
I know. Brilliant. I'll send my CV away. By the time I actually have this down to the fact that because I was more or less the last person to go, I'd worked it out in my head how to do it. So by the time I sat down, I just played it straight away.
Right.
But like my music teacher took that as no one else has been able to play this. He's the first person to play it. He must be the Messiah. Like, do you know what I mean? Like, so, finally! We got one! But I'd just like been sitting there and like, right, trying to process this in my brain. So, but from there, like everyone was just like, you're a wizard, Harry. Yeah. You're a wizard, Harry. Can you tell me?
Adam McEachran can play the drums, man.
Oh my god. I know. And then I got out of school and realised just how bad I was because everyone else was miles better than I was. So, but yeah, that was my basic introduction to the drums.
Did you learn quickly?
I think I learned quicker than other people in the class.
Right.
But I didn't learn it quickly.
Okay.
Do you know what I mean?
Uh-huh.
So, like, everyone else, like, basically, when I got to my third year of high school, there was, like, the class was kind of split down and, like, 4 students in that class were going to get, like, 1-to-1 tuition for drums, which was amazing.
Yeah.
Right? I had a teacher called Graham Barclay.
Oh, yeah, I know Graham.
Do you know Graham?
Yeah.
He's amazing.
Yeah,
like,
yeah.
I've not seen him in years, but he's a lovely guy and just...
Yeah, he's been in here.
He's been in here?
Yeah, because I think he's the head of education somewhere.
Anyway. Yeah, he was, yeah. Anyway, so he was kind of like, I was like under his wing a little bit. So I remember this. Did you ever play a piece in high school called Barbado Calypso?
No, man. We were. That was way before. Way after our time.
Way after your time. Okay, I forget you're older than me.
Number 4, Funk 1.
Yeah. 1, 2,
yeah.
3. Yeah.
Too bad time. Too bad count. That's a throwback for all the oldies. You know what that is.
Wow, throwback. So I remember I was like, it was third or fourth year at high school, and he said, "I'm going to show you four." I was one of the four that was picked, by the way. Spoiler alert.
In your year or the whole school?
In my year,
right?
So
okay.
It was just like they picked it out from year groups. Anyway, he was like, "I'm going to show you four Barbados Calypso," and he played it start to finish. Which, if you've never played that tune, it doesn't have backing music. You just basically make it is a calypso. So
right.
you just like do it all yourself, and like you make all these like crossisms and everything, blah blah blah. But I remember standing there like kind of like having a Wayne's World. Whoa! Like, this is amazing. There's no way I'll be able to play that kind of thing. And gradually over time, obviously we all learned how to play it. But even when it got to exam, because that was for exam, so when it got to exam, I just managed to nail it, but everybody else was really struggling. So then I thought, okay, maybe this is going somewhere, and then from there, just
the rest is history.
The rest is history.
Did you win the Tri-Wizard Cup? Because 4 of you from your year group competing against each other.
No, but I did teach them all the Patronus charm.
Right,
so
okay.
There you go.
Brilliant. Harry Potter. Yeah, I was kind of like that. Didn't really learn quickly, but I blagged all the playing opportunities I could. I'm going to confess something here.
Oh, man.
There was one of the girls who lived in my street who played the drums was going to talk to the orchestra band director about getting to play the drums, and I overheard her and went first and juked the spot.
No way!
I did. She was furious, man. She was absolutely raging.
Furious job.
She ended up playing tuned percussion. The xylophone of sadness was her friend.
I bet she was like looking at you as well.
And we lived like 4 houses away from each other, so she was just raging. Why would you do that? Like, because I want to play the drums, and I will run over whoever it is. No. But I also played in I would play in all the school shows, like anything kind of music. Like we did, I think we did Grease. I played Grease when I was at school. And
did you really?
Yeah,
wow.
we played stuff like that, and I would play for assemblies and brass band, and just basically blag any opportunity to play that I could.
See, that's amazing. We weren't allowed to play for school shows and
battles
like
of the bands and stuff, battle of the bands and things like that. And my band would play. We had no singer, and then we got a singer, and that was like dead exciting. And
yeah.
Back when you'd nothing to worry about, man.
I know, back before.
Except for playing like Placebo tunes and Smashing Pumpkins tunes and Radiohead tunes and all those things.
Well, for me, my version of that would be like Fall Out Boy and
absolutely.
Disco and all that. And
I mean,
I can relate to you with the whole taking any opportunity you can, because in my lunch breaks, most of my lunch breaks were spent in the music rooms.
Did all that stuff.
Like shedding.
Yeah,
absolutely. I say shedding. And open quotation marks shedding, because I couldn't at that point. And I still can't.
After school, all that stuff.
Yeah.
Did a bunch of that. So
I think you kind of, because you and I had a similar, didn't really have a kit in the house, like you kind of appreciate it more, even though the school kits.
Well, I did have a kit in the house. Just
did you?
Yeah, because my old man played as well, so I wasn't.
Of course,
I was quite lucky, but just my neighbour hated me, so.
Yeah. So you had a kit, but you couldn't really.
Sometimes, yeah. There were times of bleak winters when I couldn't play. So yeah, it was tough, So taking all those opportunities after school was super important. So
what was your school kit?
It was a Yamaha Power V in white.
Oh, no way.
22, 12, 13, 16 with a steel shelled snare. And I have one of those in black.
Yeah.
Also then we got some. That was the stage kit. That was the good kit.
That was a good kit. Oh, I was going to say, every school has a good kit.
There was a pretty gnarly 70s Premier in silver, which was horrible to play, and it had like really cheap, clear CS dots on it, but they weren't Remos.
Right.
They were just wherever they were from.
Ninos.
And Nemo.
Nemos.
And then we got some Premier kits. We got new kits. We got APKs.
Amazing.
But it was before 10-inch toms were a vibe, so it was all 22, 12, 13, 16s. It was all big rock and roll kits, so you would just make that one up, one down quite quickly, because I've sacked playing 12, 13, 16. I'm a skinny wee guy, so I would take one off and just play one up, one down, and black wrap. I think it was back at the point where Premier and Yamaha were together. I think Premier owned Yamaha for a hot minute, and the Power V was an English-made kit. It was basically they were the same drums, effectively.
Yeah, ours was a really old school pedal export.
I mean,
to be fair,
tremendous.
It sounded well. I think it could have sounded great.
Yeah.
but it was also known as the good kit.
Right.
You know,
okay,
it was one of
yeah.
those. And I remember in my 5th year at high school, my school didn't really, not that they didn't have an appreciation for drums, but like my school, a lot of people who were very classically trained in violin and
Yeah.
piano and all that kind of stuff, they were kind of like seen as like the rock stars of that, whereas I'm just like trying to play Fall Out Boy and just love my life.
Yeah.
But anyway, our school, and I'm sure your school was probably the same, we had a Young Musician of the Year competition.
No.
Did you not?
No.
Right. We had a Young Musician of the Year competition.
Right.
I don't even think I've told you this like outside of podcast. Anyway, so it was one of those ones where you learn like a piece or two and you perform it in front of like your mums and dads. And,
Yeah.
and a panel of judges selected from like you have the Janny,
The techie teacher who knows nothing about it, or
Lunch Lady Doris,
or none of them care.
yeah, exactly. They're just like,
Why am I here? Is this my detention?
exactly, totally. Anyway, so Graham put me forward for it.
Right.
So Graham Barclay put me forward for it, and I was like, okay. And I was the only person playing drums on it, and my piece was Barbados Calypso, and I'm probably gonna butcher the name of this next one, but I think it was called, and I'm not even joking, something about jazz, right?
Wow.
Right, and that was it. That was what it was called. And for that, he taught me the
Yeah.
deen, deen, deen,
Yeah.
deen, deen, deen. I only knew it as the deen, 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 deen beat, right? I didn't know it was called like a jazz, like. Anyway, so super nervous, like sweaty hands and everything. I'm like, oh man. And like before me was all these like kind of guys in my year who I knew, but like weren't overly pally with, and they were playing like Chopin, and they were playing like like beautiful pieces on the violin, like stuff that like I looked out and there was like people wiping tears away and all that, and I was like, okay, right, okay, no big deal. And my friends at the time were like, you okay? I'm like, yeah, I've got this. So obviously dynamics were not my friend at that point either, so walks out onto the stage. In fact, I remember before we had to set up in the afternoon because the show was at night,
right?
And I remember setting up, and of course we got the good kit out, didn't we? And we had, it was a Peril Export, and like you should have heard the tones on this, right? Well, firstly, the snare drum had a clear head on it, right?
Great.
Nothing against that, but like for us, that's just a school going, that'll do.
Aye, absolutely.
Aye. I think it might have been like a fake emperor, like a
Yeah.
Nemo emperor. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
A Emperor, Nemo Emperor, or whatever.
He's the new Sith.
He's a Horcrux. Anyway, so I remember to try and like look as if I knew what I was doing with the drums wise. I remember going out and like my dad had given me a drum key, and I was like making out as if like, yeah, I know what I'm doing. I'm gonna tune these, just make sure that they sound all right.
Yeah.
So tap, yeah, that's in tune, yeah. And then, like the tune, like, wong 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 wong, all the tuning rods sounding completely different. So
Magic.
it just sounded like a wet fart every time I hit the floor tom.
I kind of wish it was there.
Oh man, you don't. I think
No,
I think my mum filmed it. I think she did.
amazing.
Anyway, so I remember goes out and plays Barbados Calypso, and like I got so buzzing that I was like, that went brilliant,
Right.
cool, and like everybody's just like, I think because it was loud noise, there was some people like kind of screwing up their face like, oh, what is this? And then there was some people going, yes, energy, yes. Do you know what I mean?
Resident rock star.
The Janny up the back with long hair,
On yourself.
Slayer t-shirt on, like clapping, yes. And then I had to play something about jazz, and my cue, I had to cue my music teacher to play it from their like retro old school. I think it might have even been a Yamaha like PA system.
Brilliant.
And he's before I went on stage, he's like, right. His name was Gordon Pollock, right? I love him. He played at my sister's wedding, regardless. Right. He's like, right. So when you want me to hit play on the track, just you turn round and you nod your head.
Right.
And I'm like, okay, still sweating, wiping the sweat off my hand. Okay,
Why are you sweating? Watching Cops.
watching Gap. I was sweating. I'm like, okay, let's do this. I can do this. Like, just a nod, yeah, just a nod, and I'll just press play. Right, but I got so into Barbados Calypso that like I was so sweaty and I was playing away, and I played it far too fast. Like actually, I must have played it. It's like maybe like a 2.5 minute long piece, and I played it in about 30 seconds.
Brilliant.
Right, so it just sounded like a and I just like I stopped, and everybody was like
Amazing.
slow clap, and I turned around and I just like did like almost like a kind of rocks, like almost like headbang, but my glasses flew off. My glasses flew off, So then, not only did they bounce off Gordon Pollock, but he also had to play. So he pressed play, and I'm like, I can't see. And then you just hear something about jazz. 1, 2, 1, 2, and I was just like, ah. And I'm just like trying to do my best Buddy Rich, just like frantically. Needless to say, I didn't win. But, I mean,
like you won in our hearts, Adam.
Thank you.
No, we never had any such competitions. No, we couldn't be trusted with the likes of that. They just gave us Battle of the Bands. And I remember one guy playing like Something in the Way by Nirvana.
Oh,
and
wow.
it was the just this guy was often looked at with scorn and disdain from the local Neds or Chavs if you're down south. They were just like, he used to cut about school in cargo pants and all that just like didn't wear a uniform. No, this guy like dreads in his hair. Folk just left him alone. Just like the kind of kid that barked at you.
Yeah. Oh yeah.
So that was very, very, very strange. And we played a Placebo song and what else? A Smashing Pumpkins song, I think. And I played a drum solo and dropped a drumstick. But I managed to catch it. So when I hit the cymbal, it fell out of my hand, but I catched it. I catched it and caught it. It kept going. And I think there was one year we played one and we were playing a Pearl Jam song and the guitarist's string broke. But he could have carried on, but it managed to weave itself in and out his strings.
How does that?
I don't know. So he was just like couldn't play, and then we had to stop the song and shut the curtain, and then it was like
was there obligatory like you suck?
No, they were just like, oh, I don't even know if they shouted, but it was like a race to find him a guitar, and eventually somebody gave him a guitar and the curtain opened and we tried again, and that was very.
It just doesn't have the same impact second time around, does it?
Really doesn't. But I did find an old school picture of us at school, in one of those Battle of the Bands concerts, which is quite funny. I'll need to try and dig it up and bring it in.
This isn't strictly related, but I remember one time when I was practicing in one of the practice rooms, a boy, I can't remember if he was in my year at school or he wasn't, or if he was a year below or whatever, but he basically just got a brand new guitar. Right. And he was like a metalhead, so he like loved like bands like Escape the Fate and all that, like new age metal bands, but like, not like your like Iron Maiden or anything like that. Although he might have been in it, doesn't matter. I'm speaking for him anyway. He got a brand new Fender guitar. Like this thing was beautiful. He must have paid like about £1,000 for it. Boy was obsessed with guitar. Every time we were in class, he must have been in my year because he was in my class and all that as well. Anyway, he was playing it. He's always playing all these like you got like the classical guitars in music. Yeah. Like he was always like playing like just like shredding on this like acoustic guitar, and it was really cool. Anyway, spent a lot of money on this like Fender like masterpiece, like over £1,000, whatever. Just he spent a lot of money on it. But he played a lot of metal music, and he liked to like do the whole image thing where he liked to like swing the guitar about, and just get right into it. Right.
Where does go?
Well, he got strap locks, right? And with strap locks, and I'm always I know this is third-hand knowledge, so I don't know this for certain, but what I've heard is with strap locks, you're supposed to almost screw them into the guitar to like make sure they hold on.
Probably, I don't know.
I don't know for certain, but he didn't screw them in. He used wood glue, but not very good wood glue either. And he right? You know exactly where this is going, don't you? So he was like, he burst into the practice room because me and him kind of spoke on and off, and like I was drummer, he was guitar, like just kind of jamming a little bit. And he's like, "Dude, do you want to see my new guitar?" And I'm like, "Yeah." And he started like, he's like, like plugged it into an amp, and like obviously the amps were terrible, so we're going like the cable was broke and everything. Just guitar sounded cool, looked cool anyway, for as far as I knew. And he's like, "No, watch this." And he'd been practicing swinging it around like from his shoulder to like catch it. And he's like, "I've worked out a riff that where I can stop at a certain place and swing it around my shoulder and catch it and finish the riff." And I was like, "Okay, do you want to show me?" And he's like, "Yeah, I just got strap locks put in, so it'll be absolutely fine." So he swings it, right? And no joke, it's like, have you ever seen like the old school? Have you ever seen something fly out of a cannon? right? Because as soon as the weight of it left his body and it went round his back, the strap locks just went boof, just came off, just and it like actually went. Do you know like see when someone throws a javelin, like they try and like throw it for a distance? That's what it was like, and you just see his face go from like excitement to just sheer horror, and it went flying through the air. And I've never seen a guitar fly like this in my life. And it like actually flew and it got distance, and you just heard it just going twang, like skid along the ground, right? Oh man, I shouldn't laugh. Oh, what a shame, but it was so funny. I had to turn away because I was absolutely crying. And so was he, but he was crying because he just spent all his money on a guitar, and like I think he was so lucky that the neck never snapped, but like there was just so many chips in it, and it was all scratched. It was all scratched.
A free relicing.
Oh, literally, yeah. But he was absolutely heartbroken, and it's just, you know what, where you can't help but laugh. I was like, oh no,
poor dude, man.
But it just was. I tell you something, man. Like he must have swung it with some force because it got some air. Like,
that was funny. Poor guy. So that's origin stories, Troops. That's how we started. I started when I was 23 years ago, something like that. No, 26 years ago.
So
27 years ago.
So you've almost been playing drums for the same amount of time that I've been alive.
It's quite mentally.
Sorry, I didn't mean to make you feel old there.
No, it's fine. You know, it's fine. I am older than you.
So. Yeah, true. I've been playing for now 15 years.
Right.
So I started when I was 12.
Yeah.
Properly.
Yeah. There you go. What age did you start? What is your origin story, dear listener?
Yes.
Yeah, and I wanted to we haven't really talked about health and playing before, have we? It's things people talk about sometimes, you know, like longevity. We had a customer in the other day who had to buy a new drum stool because she's got back problems.
Oh no.
Like really severe lower back problems from cycling and things, you know.
Yeah.
So I just thought it'd be interesting to talk about. Like,
yeah.
I remember playing a gig, and I'll use a drumstick for this actually to show you. I couldn't pinch by the end of the night.
Oh.
So I couldn't. My thumb and my forefinger couldn't close. Where you would keep the stick wouldn't close together. So it was like my thumb had come off the stick and I had lost all the ability to close my hand.
Oh no.
So if you can see in the camera, I basically had to hold the stick like that with the back three fingers for the last couple of tunes.
That's not good.
It was not good at all.
No.
I got quite
a
fright.
Yeah.
I did get a fright, yeah, because I thought I couldn't use my hand.
Yeah.
Thankfully, by the time we stopped the gig, it was this penultimate song. By the time like I'd finished packing up, it had come back and I could use my hand normally. But I had to think about, okay, this is quite serious. You know, it's quite a serious thing. I think I'd just overgripped. And
I was going to ask what actually. Do you know what happened?
The song ended up too fast, I think, and I was playing in a nightclub where I couldn't really hear myself, and I think I was just hitting the drums too hard, too quickly, and it just the muscles were just like, nah, I don't think so, man. Sorry.
Yeah.
I was wondering, like, if you've ever had anything like that, or do you have a warm up routine? Because I know you do a lot of training. Yeah. Like you go to the gym quite a lot. Like for your core and things, you know, if you're playing like 4-hour gigs where you've got to play for a long time, man. Like I used to get a lot of pain in my back as well. Had to adjust how I sat. Like people forget that if you sit with your knees above your hips, you're going to take all that strain and stress on your lower back, you know, or if you have your hi-hats at the wrong angle, that can displace hips and things, you know. It's actually quite important.
It's funny because you actually made me rethink how I set up the drums a lot to make it so it isn't like how it was before, because I think before even we'd spoke, like I'd kind of, you know, I didn't feel comfortable behind the drums at all, and I didn't feel as though things were set up to where I felt as though I was setting myself up around the drums purely because of how they would look from a onlooker's perspective, as opposed to setting them up for what's actually comfortable for me. Yeah, you know, doesn't matter how it looks to other people.
Yeah.
As long as I'm comfortable and I can play the drums to the best of my ability with them set up this way, it doesn't matter how it looks.
Mm-hmm.
To answer your question, I never used to warm up at all, which is really bad, and I learned that the hard way because kind of similar to what happened to you, a band I used to play with did a lot of busking, believe it or not, in Glasgow.
Mm-hmm.
And there was one time in particular that we busked all day and I had a gig at night.
Right.
So we were playing drums basically on and off from about 11 o'clock in the morning till maybe about 5 o'clock, because then we obviously had to pack everything down and then had to go to an actual gig. So I guess in total that day I probably spent about 9 hours on and off playing drums.
Wow.
So, but that's also in varying temperatures.
Mm-hmm.
So not warming up firstly, and then playing very cold and having to hit really hard.
Yeah, that's not going to help at all.
It's not going to help at all. So I think by the end of the night, my left arm had gave up completely because the muscles had all seized up. Very close to what happened to you actually. My muscles had all seized up, and I actually couldn't play with the arm anymore. I had to just play with my right hand.
Oh wow, okay.
Hi-hats,
Jesus.
I was completely goosed.
Yeah.
And that kind of I knew it was just because I just overstrained it.
Yeah.
That's just I just overworked the muscle. Because my right arm was feeling the same, but it wasn't because I'm right-handed. It wasn't as bad. My left arm was like, oh my god, what is going on?
Yeah.
So it's kind of since that it kind of gave me a fright. I got a practice pad, and now, depending on how much time we have, even if we have like 5 minutes before we start playing, I'll at least stretch out my hands now.
Yeah.
I'll just do like very basic, paradiddles or something on a practice pad just to get the blood flowing a little bit. I know that it'll start flowing more once we actually start playing, first dance and whatever, but even just a little bit before that, I like to get myself kind of at least limber,
Yeah, man. I also, latterly, back end of last year, I was getting a lot of pain in my right shoulder blade.
Really?
Yeah, and I couldn't put my finger on whether or not I had my right cymbal too high or my right cymbal too low. But it would like a real deep burning sensation, like, oh, that something doesn't like what's going on. And I think I probably just need to revisit what we did before, which I can't take credit for. Ryan Ross, who used to teach in with us years ago, taught me that as well. He looked at me playing one day, he was like, bro, your setup's all wrong. And just went through the drum kit systematically so that it was ergonomically, it made much more sense.
Yeah.
So that when I could shut my eyes and hit all the drums and everything, I would land where everything needed to be. And I think I've just gotten out the habit of that actually.
Yeah.
So I think I need to redo it. Also, for the longest time, I played a 22-inch right cymbal.
Right. Yeah.
And then played for like a year and a half, played a 20. So I wonder if even just, reaching for the bell, because the bell would have been in a different place, and adjusting where the setup is, that would contribute. I played 13-inch hats for like 10 years and then went to 14, so then the hi-hat stand would move. And I just think getting back to these real basic things, because like even that inch of difference in the hi-hats makes a difference, because you're then hitting them in a different place that you maybe don't like the sound of, so you move the stand and then, you're overcompensating to the one side. I played traditional grip for years and I would drop my shoulder, which is really bad, and I would get pain down there. And I've also got a really bad habit of putting my neck down, which is really bad for like neck strain and all that. So I've got to take care of all of that stuff. Steve White actually years ago gave me a really good tip. He's like, imagine you're playing, you've got to try and keep a 50 quid note in your shoulder blades.
Oh, okay.
So that the posture's all up, and you brought your chest out. It's not hunkered back. You're not hunkering over. But I think so many people overlook it, man. They overlook a good stool. Like, a good stool is so important. Like something comfortable, a comfortable base. Not cheap, man. Like, spend the money on a throne.
We say that to people as well.
We do,
people
absolutely.
Who come in, because it's one of the most, if not the most, overlooked element of the drum kit.
Yep. You would spend all your time on everything else except a throne.
Yep. That's it.
And I was talking to Louis Abbott, who's a former guest.
Episode 7, I believe.
Yeah, round about there. He was in the shop last week, and he uses a nitro throne because if it's just not the right height, he doesn't have to get off the stool. He can just slight push and it'll adjust. He says it's really heavy. It's maybe the heaviest thing if he's hardware bag and all that, because he was in looking at hardware and we were talking about the weights of hardware, so on and so forth. And he likes those because ergonomically they move well as well. He can play a lot of classical percussion, so if he's doing any kind of pit things and he needs to jump between different drums, those kind of thrones help him do that, you know. But yeah, man, I think it's really, really valuable to look at it. I think stretching really helps as well. It's no secret that I've been doing martial arts for the last couple of years, and stretching with that stuff really helped my playing, actually. Doing yoga and breathing helps balance. So I think these are things that people should, if you haven't thought about them, are really worth a think.
Yeah, because it's not all about the drums.
Well, it's so physical. I think it was Clem Burke from Blondie did a thing where they strapped him up and measured his heart rate output on a gig, and he did as much work on a 90-minute show as a guy digging a ditch for like 8 hours. So it's really physical, really physical.
I think Eddie Thrower did a thing like that as well. Obviously, we've had Eddie on the past in the past, but he done with one of the shows he played with Busted. He had a heart rate monitor strapped to one of his legs,
right?
And again, it was for about a 90-minute show. I think calorie-wise, he burned well over 1,000 calories.
That's crazy.
Which is, in the grand scheme, doesn't sound like a lot, but it actually is. Like, if you've done a workout, like even like a pretty intense workout, maybe at max you're maybe going to burn about 400, 450 maybe. Obviously there's so many variables in that, but like at least if you're doing like strength conditioning, like sometimes you'll maybe only burn about that, you know, but to burn 1,000 like,
and also
within a 90-minute scale.
He's a guy who's used to playing at that level and sustaining that for a long time. If you're not, you might end up burning more.
Yeah, exactly.
You know, because his sort of base level of fitness will be different from someone who's just started, you know, because he's in gig shape. He'd been on a tour. He'd done years of it previously, so he was used to playing high energy shows, you know. So for a guy who's doing it all the time and who's relatively young, relatively fit, you know, that's quite a lot.
But even on like a kind of like a working drummer level of like playing weddings, you know, you're just playing the drums for about 3 hours.
Yeah, and also,
you know?
I mean, guys like Eddie Thrower don't set the drums up.
Yeah, exactly.
So you've got all that on top of the extra exercise you're doing.
Exactly.
You know? So even just like our guitarist put his back out lifting his amp. Silly things like just twisting out the car the wrong way, and you know, before you know it, you might have to ergonomically adjust your entire drum kit. Yeah,
exactly. Yeah,
it's really worth thinking about, man.
It is, you know, like
eating well, drinking water.
Yeah,
I can't drink alcohol and play. I've tried it before. You know, it's not good for coordination for me.
No.
There's some people can do it. I know some guys that can do it. I know some guys that can do it. Drink a lot of alcohol and do it, you know. But I am not one of those guys at all. You know?
Well, I don't drink either, but my thing for that would have been energy drinks in the past.
Right, okay.
I used to slam a Monster right before playing a 4-hour wedding.
Right, well,
which was it was great but horrendous.
Craig Blundell, man, there's a post somewhere. Craig Blundell thought he was having a heart attack. Used to drink that much energy drink. He used to drink that many energy drinks on a daily basis that he was driving the car and ended up like he thought he was going blind and stuff. He had to pull the car over, and it was just the amount of crap in his system from drinking too many Red Bulls. You know, it's really serious stuff.
Yeah,
you know, you've got to be really careful with a lot of that stuff. It can be almost worse than drinking alcohol. You know, and then thinking about like the amount of water that you're going to lose that you need to replace. You know, if you play like the band I play in, we'll do 40 minutes without stopping. Like we'll do a 40-minute medley. Yeah, no problem. Like we can have a pint of water and not touch it for an entire 90-minute set. You know, you've got to be careful. Yeah, doing all that
because obviously, like you need water helps you stay limber. You know, if you don't have any
cognitive function, it helps cognitive function.
Helps you concentrate. You know, helps you move. You know, because otherwise you'll start feeling stiff, and you know, next thing you look at the clock and you've still got an hour and a half left to play, and you're just, man, I'm absolutely beat. You know, having said all that, when we all get back gigging, I reckon a lot of us will be like that. Just
probably
just
out of gig shape.
Build up the endurance again.
Yeah,
you know?
For sure. I believe I'm sure I read somewhere or heard somewhere Carter Beauford drinks salt water before he plays.
Oh really? Wow.
Yeah, because of the amount of salt that he loses on a gig.
Yeah,
it keeps
from all the sweat.
Yeah, it keeps that in check. You know, so I think he drinks like a pint of salt water or something. You know, before a gig. So some guys go to real big lengths to do it, you know.
I mean, our first guest on this show was Craig Reynolds, who's a huge advocate of fitness, and
he's vegan and works out super high,
like intense. Yeah, I mean, like, but he also plays very heavy music, you know, that it requires, you know, a certain physique and a certain level of ability and all that kind of stuff. But I mean, it's so important. I've even, if you listen to Craig's podcast, the Downbeat, he even talks about that with a lot of people, just how important it is. And he's like, oh, like a lot of people have even spoke to me about how do I get in shape, and like he's worked out like all their like calorie intake and all that kind of stuff. Like really went in depth with it. And I think all that's, for me, and as a kind of the average person, I think is maybe a bit too crazy. But it doesn't hurt to keep yourself kind of in check.
Well, no, and I mean, for guys like Craig, it's a lifestyle choice.
Exactly, yeah.
So I think he would do that regardless of whether or not he played drums.
Yeah, exactly, yeah.
So yeah, it depends on how far you want to go with it. Absolutely does. I think it's just something that people really should pay mind to. I think I need to do it a little more, actually. Just generally.
I definitely do.
I drink way too much coffee and not enough water. Just for daily life as well. Yeah.
I've actually, I've drastically reduced my coffee intake.
Right.
I was actually talking to you about this.
We talk about this quite a lot.
We do. Like the other day, over the weekend there, I had like 2 coffees, one after the other, and for the rest of the day I felt horrendous.
Yeah.
Struggled to sleep at night and everything.
Yeah.
Just from having another cup of coffee.
Yeah.
And I was like, wow. Usually I only have one, and I feel fine, sleep perfect.
Yeah.
Not perfect, but I sleep like the right amount. I'm not like waking up at 3 a.m. struggling to sleep.
Yeah, absolutely. I used to be really bad for fizzy drinks like Coke or Iron Brew or something. I would, instead of water, I would drink Coke on a gig, and before charging on the way home at 2 a.m, you're like wide awake.
Yeah.
And
which isn't necessarily a bad thing if you've got a long drive.
It's not, but the crash is horrible.
Yeah.
The crash at the end when the sugar leaves your system, and you start to come down from the amount of sugar that you've drank and caffeine and all these other things. It's not great for your system to be that high followed by that low.
True.
So yeah, people, pay attention to your health, especially if you're playing lots. You're playing all the time. Stay hydrated.
Drink some water.
Yeah, stretch out, man. Watch those backs. Watch those wrists. Don't grip the sticks too hard. Invest in some good technique and a good teacher. Molar helped a lot for me, letting the stick rebound. I had to learn to play really quietly and really quickly a lot of the time when I was studying. So having decent technique helped that no end, because I wasn't putting the work in. The drumsticks were, I've had ridiculous tempos called on gigs where I've been cold. It's really hard to do. Yeah. Really, really hard to do. So you got to practice it like hell. But yeah, that was my little ramble for today.
Sure. Quite right.
Yeah. So we covered some good ground tonight, man. Stick alternatives from Headhunters. Check them out on the website. We did our origin story. We did health. What else did we do? Any year mix.
Any year mix.
Any year monitor mix. Yes. That was the other thing. So yeah, where can people find us, man?
So as you of course know, Drummers Only is the UK's leading drum shop. Thanks to Keith for doing our intro. You can find us physically in store Glasgow and Leeds. We're now open 7 days a week. So you can come and find us. We're open 10 till 6.
Nope, 10 till 5.
10 till 5, sorry. Monday through Saturday, 12 till 5 on a Sunday. You can find us on Facebook, Twitter, Instagram, soon to be TikTok. We're going to have a lot of fun with Big Dave on that. Drummers Only UK. Send us an email if you feel so inclined, info@drummersonly.co.uk. Obviously you can find all of our drumming goodies. Maybe you want to buy some new in-ears, maybe you want to buy some new Headhunter stick variations. They're all listed on www.drummersonly.co.uk.
We are looking at a kind of personal shopper service as well.
We are, yes.
And it's something that we want to think about doing remotely. I did something for a customer the other day and helped him pick an SQ2 snare remotely.
Yeah.
If there's something like that you want a custom kit done, we'll do it.
Yeah.
Easy peasy.
For you. Get in touch with us. You can also book your personal shopper experience on the website as well. Maybe there's a particular snare or a particular kit that you would like a little bit more time invested to spend time with it and make sure you're making the right decision. We can hook that up for you as well. All the information on that is on the relevant listing for what you're looking for.
Yeah, you can bring in your own gear to help, does it work with your existing gear? All those cool things.
All that and more. Don't forget, guys, we have a Facebook group as well, Drummers Only Forum. We do regular competitions on there.
There's one going on right now
There's one going on right now.
that finishes on Friday that
It
you can
does.
enter.
Yes, so we do competitions on there all the time. Feel free to join. It's a great community where people are sharing some tips, sharing some fun things, memes,
Yep.
whatever. But it's obviously a good place for conversation. So feel free to join Drummers Only Forum.
As ever, thank you all for checking us out, for listening. Like, subscribe, review, and we'll see you next time.
See you next time. Bye bye.
Bye.